I'm not sure why I feel compelled to record this video at this particular time, but I'm going to relate this story, and then I'll just see whether I want to post it or not afterwards. And if you're watching this right now, obviously I chose to post it. One of the predominant themes in my adult life is alienation, and it's something that's reflected in. I would say it's reflected in my work. It's reflected in my fiction, as well as my nonfiction. It's a major theme, and I think one of the things that is that can hurt the most is when you find yourself alienated from that which you had believed before was alienation proof, that you thought was someone with whom you shared a bond that transcended alienation, which is such a predominant theme in much of my lived experiences as an adult. Not so much as a child, although as a child I was different, and I felt myself to be different, but I wasn't. So I didn't feel torn. I didn't feel like I didn't so much feel like my actual self was torn violently from, if that sounds overly dramatic, sorry, was torn violently from the ability to relate to or be on the same level as others. As a little boy, I was more like Danny in The Shining, which is why watching that movie was such a powerful experience for me. It was mainly because of Danny and how much he reminded me of me, just because it was filmed at around the same time when I was that age, and so I had the same hair and the same the same clothes that my mama dressed me in, and the same kind of demeanor, the same kind of sensitivity, but also moodiness, occasional moodiness, and just more of a kind of someone, a dreamy natured person. I was a dreamy lad, but it was a happy place to be. And then there was some kind of violent change that took place upon the threshold of adulthood during adolescence. But anyway, I was married for many years and felt that I, felt understood in a way that I hadn't thought possible to be understood before, which made it the more painful when the marriage frayed and fell apart. And the story I'm going to tell over the next few minutes is about an incident that took place when the fraying and the falling apart had already largely happened, but I was at the time kind of indifferent, or was not indifferent, but I was in denial about it. I thought it could be fixed. So we were on, my wife and I were on this Carnival cruise, and before you say, "Oh, la di da, must be rough," Carnival cruises are very cheap. It's sort of the they're kind of redneck cruises. Frankly, the clientele are not the people that you're cruising with. They're not high and mighty types. But anyway, we booked a couple kayaking experience when we went to this one location where the tour guide would take you out to this place where there was a beautiful river. This is in the Caribbean, and you would kayak with your significant other, so we got in our boat, and all the other couples sort of just got it, had it down. They knew how to. They knew how to kayak in tandem, where you've got two people. One person rows, the other steers, I guess. And I've been kayaking alone many times, and it's something I really enjoy doing when I have a chance to do it. It's I enjoy the exercise. I enjoy the experience of it. But that's me going by myself. When my wife and I did this together, we found we couldn't make it work, which I guess is symbolic in its own way of what was happening in our marriage. But we would end up going in circles, and I think it was my fault, quote unquote. But the tour guide, the worst part about this was the tour guide, who should have been, who we were paying. We paid significant money to do this, so he should have been understanding, or he should have found some way to resolve, I don't know, to smooth things over or something like that. But he got extremely frustrated with us. And again, I can understand him feeling frustrated. Maybe this just doesn't happen very often. Where you've got somebody who's just retarded, and you didn't. Everybody else they just pick up this skill, but this one person, i.e. me, is just retarded and can't. We were just going in circles, and so he was trying to explain, I think primarily to me, how to do the steering or whatever, or how to do whatever the task I was supposed to do. But I just couldn't. I couldn't figure it out, and so he was getting more and more frustrated. And so eventually, I just got in the water and pulled the boat along. I just got in the water, got all wet, and pulled the boat along myself. I mean, it was one of the many times that I have experienced the feeling of being just, like everybody else can pick this up but me. Private Pile, you're telling me you can't even do one pull up? It was that kind of feeling. It's like when you're at your own birthday party and you're playing musical chairs and you're the first one out. There's just like, I don't know if kids do this anymore, but it used to be like a fun thing. I'm making air quotes when I say fun. A fun thing to play musical chairs. I never liked it because it was like, it's a very stressful game, and it's like, if you're like there's one, for those who don't know, you play the music and say there are 8 people walking around the table. There's 7 chairs, okay? And so when the music stops, everybody has to find a seat, and one person is out. And then 7 people are walking, and they remove one of the chairs, so there are 6 chairs left. And it goes on and on like that until there's just one chair, just 2 people walking and just one chair, and the person who finds the chair is the winner. I don't know how they don't just like maul each other or whatever. It gets super competitive, and it's supposed to be a fun game, but it's really there's really something about it that, and I guess if you just go into it in a happy-go-lucky mode without being competitive, just thinking, well, whatever happens, and if I'm out, then I'm out, and I'll just watch. And you just sort of, like every other competitive thing, if you just kind of take it in the spirit of fun, then it's harmless. But when you're a kid, it's like I found you can't help but feel the pressure of it, and that was what I was feeling. I was like the first kid out on in musical chairs. With these 9 or 10 other couples, being able to master the tandem kayaking, whereas I couldn't do it, and it was my fault. I mean, I'm not saying my fault, but I couldn't. We switched up later, and where I was doing the rowing, and my wife was steering, and she picked up on how to steer. She just picked it up. She knew how to do it. And so, if we'd started off that way, but I guess most of the time, for most of the others, it was like the man who did the steering. So I was supposed to. Anyway, I still to this day don't know what exactly I was doing wrong. I can be very maladroit in certain ways on certain things. I'm not a very skilled person, except for things like writing, where I think I'm pretty good, and other things, and I know people think I'm pretty smart, but there are lots of things I'm pretty dumb about while being smart. But I felt very, very dumb on this day, and I know my wife was impatient with me, and I know that the tour guide got impatient with me, and he got frustrated, and then he tried to play it off later, like, oh, well, it's okay. But it was embarrassing. It was humiliating to show myself to be so incompetent among these, with all these other people who just knew exactly what they were doing. And I knew that this experience didn't just mean. I knew that this experience was freighted with significance, freighted with deep and heavy significance. I knew that at the time, felt it heavily in my body and soul, and it was a very sobering thing in the midst of what was supposed to be a vacation that was meant to help get us back on track as a couple. Again, I don't know what moved me to share this. I think, well, I do. I'd been listening to a few videos by a particular YouTuber who characterizes himself as an incel, and he seems to like to recount these stories of his own humiliation. And I'm not laughing at him, but when I'm laughing right now, it's just I think there's something in the whole experience of humiliation that it provokes this this laughter. you kind of have to laugh about it, and so there's like there's an automatic response that you have, which is laughter. Because what else would it be? Tears. But I think there is something funny about it when it's viewed in a particular light. When you take your own pain and frustration and humiliation out of it, it becomes funny because it's relatable. And I guess maybe I'm hoping that amongst those listening, at least there are some for whom this story is relatable, because I think when you find something that is relatable, it helps to dissolve the feeling of alienation that afflicts many of us who feel ourselves to be different in many ways from others. So that's my story. And I'm sticking to it. I have to stick to it because it's the truth. It's what happened. So we'll see if I post this or not.